येषवोऽस्त्विष्टकामधुक् देवान् भावयतानेन ते देवा भावयन्तु वः परस्परं भावयन्तः श्रेयः परमवाप्स्यथ इष्टान् भोगान् हि वो देवाः दास्यन्ते यज्ञभाविताः तैर्दत्तानप्रदायैभ्यः यो भुङ्क्तेस्तेन एव सः यज्ञशिष्टाशिनः सन्तः मुच्यन्ते सर्वकिल्बिषैः भुञ्जते ते त्वघं पापाः ये पचन्त्यात्मकारणात् अन्नाद् भवन्ति भूतानि पर्जन्यादन्नसम्भवः यज्ञात् भवति पर्जन्यः यज्ञः कर्म समुद्भवः कर्म ब्रह्मोद्भवं विद्धि ब्रह्माक्षरसमुद्भवम् तस्मात् सर्वगतं ब्रह्म नित्यं यज्ञे प्रतिष्ठितम् एवं प्रवर्तितं चक्रं नानुवर्तयतीह यः अघायुरिन्द्रिया रामः मोघं पार्थ स जीवति यस्त्वात्मरतिरेव स्यात् आत्मतृप्तश्च मानवः आत्मन्येव च सन्तुष्टः तस्य कार्यं न विद्यते नैव तस्य कृतेर्नार्थः नाकृते नेह कश्चन न चास्य सर्वभूतेषु कश्चिदर्थव्यपाश्रयः तस्मादसक्तः सततं कार्यं कर्म समाचर असक्तो ह्याचरन् कर्म परमाप्नोति पूरुषः कर्मणैव हि संसिद्धिम् आस्थिता जनकादयः लोकसङ्ग्रहमेवापि सम्पश्यन् कर्तुमर्हसि यद्यदाचरति श्रेष्ठः तत्तदेवेतरो जन.
Hari Om. We will start with the prayers.
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavati Tamastu Mavitvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambam Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada. Om Shri Ganapataye Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. My pranams to the Guru Parampara. My pranams to all of you. We will start with the Gita Dhyanam. We'll do the first and the last stanza, and then we'll go to the presentation. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Shri Bhagavad Gita Dhyanam. Om Partaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Grahitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Vritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvamanusandanami Bhagavad Gita Bhavatveshini. Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Devai Sangapadakramo Upanishadaihi Gayanti Yam Samagaha Dhyanavastita Tadghatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yoginaha Yasyantam na vidussura suraganaha Devaya tasmai namaha. Devaya tasmai namaha. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhyah mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. Hari Om and pranams to all of you. So we are today on the fifth session of these talks. Today we have the fifth one, and then we have the sixth and the seventh. The talks will be ending on July 4th. So if any of you have any questions, you can send me a private message on WhatsApp. I'll be glad to answer those questions. Okay, so what is right action? Our infamous slide, the Bhagavad Gita way. So every action has to be dharmic, meaning we should do our action as per our swadharma. It should be righteous, and it should bring about integration in the society. So every action has to be meaningful. It has to be meaningful to me. It has to be meaningful to others. In every step of the way, we have a choice to follow the path of the good or path of the pleasant, to follow Shreyas or to follow Preyas. By following the path of Shreyas, we bring about meaningfulness in our lives and lives of everybody else and the universe itself, which we are going to talk today as part of Yajna spirit. Third, every action has to be efficient. Energies get leaked out in different directions. We need to know how to curtail these energies
and focus all these energies into the task at hand. So when we do that, when our mind is on the task and not whiling away in different directions, it will yield an excellent action, and excellent action will have excellent results. Fourth, we have to experience a sense of freedom. So we should know how to contact. We should master the art of contact. We should practice intelligent self-restraint. So these aspects help us in experiencing a sense of freedom, no matter what is going on outside. And lastly, we need to have an experience of happiness when we are performing the action, and after we perform the action, irrespective what the results are. So we saw the talks, as you may have figured out now. For each of these aspects of right action, we are mapping it to shlokas in Bhagavad Gita, and we finished all the shlokas that pertain to dharma, and we started off on meaningful. So we will review the shlokas that were pertaining to meaningful actions. Karmendriyani samyamya yayaste manasa smaran indriyartan vimudhatma mityachara savuchyate. So here it says there should be in all our activities integration of the intellect and the mind. Here, Sri Krishna is portraying a person who is sitting in meditation, but his mind is all over the place. And he calls such a person as mityachara, or mithya means false, and chara is conduct. Mityachara would be a person with false conduct or a hypocrite. So when there is disintegration of the mind and intellect, then you will not be able to provide meaningful action. You'll not be able to do meaningful action. So we saw that. Yes, vindriyani manasa niyamya rabate juna karmendriyai karma yogam asaktas savishishyate. So here, Bhagavan Sri Krishna introduces the concept of karma yoga. You have to perform your action using karma yoga, and you perform your action with the senses under control and being attached. So the focus here was on karma yoga, how to perform your action with the spirit of karma yoga. And here we saw one technique last time, that is, make yourself the instrument of God. So that is having karanatva. Today, I take myself to be the doer of the action, and therefore I have kartrutva. Okay. So instead of working for myself, make God as your master. I am only an instrument in his hands. I work with his strength and his knowledge to accomplish the task. So with this attitude, if you work, you make yourself as the instrument of the Lord. So whatever it is his wish that is being carried out, not your wish. And whatever comes, you take it as prasada buddhi. And therefore you're performing now actions without ego and egocentric desires, which is the focus of karma yoga. And in this, we had this beautiful slide, which shows that today I am a karta. I have doership of my action. Therefore, I have kartrutva bhava. And the ultimate goal is to be an akarta, is not to have any doership. So we saw akarta, or the state of naishkarmyam, which is actionlessness state. If there is no actionlessness, means there is no desirelessness. When there is no desirelessness, means there is no vasanalessness. No vasanalessness means no ignorance. No ignorance means state of knowledge, which is akarta. So to bridge this gap between karta and akarta, we need this bridge. that goes across this river. And that bridge is called as Karanatva, or making myself as the instrument of the Lord. And then we went to this beautiful topic. We started off with this wonderful topic of Yajna spirit, how with the help of Yajna spirit, we can create meaningful actions for us and others. Yajnartat karmanon yatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartam karma kaunteya muktas sangas samacharaha. So here Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, when you perform actions with the spirit of yajna, those actions do not bind. That means it does not create any attachment. You can perform those actions without creating any attachment, without any creating new vasanas. So when there is no attachment, then your work becomes meaningful. It becomes meaningful for you and meaningful for others. So we saw this. And then the next 4 shlokas are pertaining to Yajna spirit from the cosmic perspective. In that we saw 1 shloka. So Yajna spirit also means, like the previous slide, it also means in modern terminology, is teamwork. You sync your differences, come as a team and work together. So then we saw the next shloka, that is shloka 10. Sahayajnyak praja srishtva purovacha prajapatihi anena prasavishyadvam eshavo svishta kamaduk. So here it says that, when man created, was created by the great Prajapati, he gave man a parting gift. Man being the crown of creation, he gave him a parting gift. What is this parting gift? We saw this. Nothing but this parting gift is Yajna spirit. Because Yajna spirit is so important of a trait to have in a human being. So he gave this Yajna spirit to us, so that by working with the spirit of Yajna, or with the spirit of teamwork, we can prosper as a group. And he said, let this Yajna spirit be the milk cow of desire, which will, if you perform any Yajna with this spirit of Yajna spirit, whatever you want can be achieved. So Prajapati himself, by giving this Yajna spirit as a parting gift, shows us the importance of Yajna spirit in our life, and the importance of performing meaningful action. So the next shloka is a promise from Bhagavan. Devan bhavayata nena te deva bhavayantu vaha parasparam bhavayantaha shreyah paramavapsyath. So here Sri Krishna is saying, with this Yajna spirit, if you nourish the gods will in turn nourish you. So parasparam bhavayantaha is the key. Thus, nourishing one another, parasparam bhavayantaha, we nourish the nature and nature nourishes us. The highest welfare can be obtained, which means when we nourish the gods and the gods nourish us, we can provide meaningful action to the society. So we'll go on. So far we've seen the shlokas that were done last week. So we will go to the next shloka, where um, um, where Sri Krishna shows us how he will serve, how nature will serve us, and also he redefines what is being a thief. So we should avoid that to create meaningful activity. Ishtan bogan hivo devaha dhasyante yajna bhavitaha taidattan aprada taidattan apradayebhyah yo bhunte stena evasaha. So Ishtan Bogan, all the desired objects indeed will be given by the gods if we can nourish the nature with our Ignya spirit. So here the word Dhasyante is very important. So the word Dhasyante means how is the nature going to serve us? And then the second half of the line says, Tairdatan aprada yebhyah. So if we do not offer in return what the gods have given us, that means there are a few people who are obviously important people in the team, right? And so when they work together with all others, we get results. So if these people of power, okay, if they do not distribute what is got as a result of teamwork, as a result of yajna spirit, Sri Krishna and keep the results of the project only to themselves, Sri Krishna says, verily they are thieves. And it's a very powerful word, they are thieves. You do not want to be called by Sri Krishna as a thief. And therefore, if we work in such a way that we don't come under this category, then we provide meaningful action to society. Our actions will be meaningful to the society. So let us see the meaning. So Ishtan Bogan, the desired objects, okay, will be given to you. And we said how will the nature serve you? Dhasyante. Dhasyante means, what is that? It's like a host in a restaurant. So you and your wife, you go out for dinner, and then you have the host that is serving you. And then the lady says that, I'd like to now, we have great meal, and I would like to have a nice ice cream for dessert. And at that time, the waiter very patiently, very lovingly says, ma'am, that's a very great choice of a dessert at this point. And I would recommend at this time that after you have this dessert, to top it off with some cappuccino, right? And then the man also readily is agreeing to what the waitress is saying and what the wife has ordered. So a host is a person who serves with love and with a bhava that is very pleasing, right? So the nature, Mother Nature, will also serve us the same way if we nourish Mother Nature through all our activities. Another example could be where a victorious king is returning, not returning, after winning the war, is entering the kingdom of the vanquished. So the king who is vanquished and all the citizens of that vanquished state is ready to receive the king. And how did they receive him? All the people with very great respect bow to him, and one after another they come and shower wealth on the king. A person brings with his head slightly bent and walking with all humility, has a plate which is full of gems. Another person has a plate which is full of gold, which is full of silk, another person. So like this, they serve the king with their heads down, with all humility. All right. That is the bhava of a dasyanta, of a dasa. So Mother Nature will serve us with that same bhava as if she were your servant, or as if Mother Nature was your servant, if you nourish Mother Nature. So together, parasparam bhavayantaha, together, if we nourish each other, then whatever we do will become meaningful. So in any project, okay, it's not that everybody has to work with this yajna spirit. A handful of people can come together, and once a critical mass is created, then everybody follows. So we said, how does nature serve man? You see these beautiful pictures here. So you see the sannyasi enjoying Mother Nature. So if you nourish Mother Nature, Mother Nature will nourish you with this beauty. The sun will rise on time at 6:30 in the morning. If it is supposed to rise, it will rise. And sun will set on time. There will always be a cool breeze flowing, so that the temperature is just right for you to enjoy the surroundings. And the sun has been serving you so much, years after years after years. It's not going to tell you, I have now served you over 300 years. Now it's time for me to take vacation. Every year of service, I have 1 week of earned vacation. So now with 300 years of service, imagine you have 300 weeks of vacation. Does the sun do that? No, the sun will never do that. And if at all the sun decides to do that, then the North Pole will give a call to the South Pole and say, hey, South Pole, it's time to meet. And so the North Pole and the South Pole will meet, meaning the whole earth will be covered with ice. That is not going to happen either. So if you nourish nature, Mother Nature will automatically nourish you. So now coming to the second part of the shloka, who is a thief? Now you do the project, you do the yajna, and you get the desired results. And in fact, the results are even more than what is beyond your expectation. So these key people who were in charge of this project, of this yajna, obviously have access to the results. So they should not be like this group of people enjoying the results only for themselves. They should actually distribute the results equally to all. And if you enjoy these results only for yourself, what does Sri Krishna say? You are indeed a thief. Okay? You do not want to get that kind of a name from Krishna. You think that I'm a great Krishna Bhakta. Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Krishna. You go all over the place. But what does Lord Krishna think of you? He thinks of you as a thief, right? You don't want to have that name. So whatever we do, we should not do it in such a way that we get branded as a thief by the Lord. And therefore, if we perform our activities, do our job, when the results come, equally distribute that results to everyone, okay, then that kind of an action would be more meaningful than anything else. So this is actually a great lesson in compensation management. And in fact, many companies have gone to this model of compensation management in order to distribute the profits, what is called as profit sharing. So instead of having a very complex methodology to figure out complex spreadsheets, to figure out who has done what, how successfully, they've simplified the whole process and said, okay, my profit is $50 billion. I have 200,000 employees, 50 billion divided by 200,000. That's the check everybody gets. And that's how it should be, because each one of us, all of us are working in a team. Some people are silent contributors, Some people are loud contributors. Some contributors are, the contribution can be felt, but other contributions may be so subtle that you cannot really feel it, right? Therefore, this is a very important lesson for leadership, is in order to do meaningful things, share everything, and then the process of sharing would make the project meaningful to you and to others. So who accumulates sin? So it's a powerful word again. The word sin has been introduced, and we will see what this sin is. Yajnashishtashinah santah muchyante sarvakilbishaihi Bunjate te tvagam papah epachantyatma karanat. So here it says, we'll see here, the righteous who eat the remnants of the yajna are freed from all sins. That is, people who are working without being worried about what my action is going to get me, and who work just for the sake of working, and are willing to accept whatever results come out from the actions, that person is said is freed from all sins. Meaning, when such a person is working, he is not tormented by desires. He is not tormented by failures that might happen on the way. Okay, so his mind is not agitated. So sin is actually when you perform an act which creates an agitation in the mind, that act is called as a sin. Okay, so very simple. I perform an action, but I feel bad about the way I perform. It creates agitations in my mind, then that action is branded as sin. Okay, and so here Bhagavan Sri Krishna says, those who act, or here he uses the word cook, for their own sake, they verily eat sin, which means they are working only for the fruits of their actions. And because of that, there is a lot of anxiety. And because of anxiety is nothing but agitations of the mind. You're not enjoying your work. You're being constantly tormented by this agitation. And therefore, you are doing a sin. So that's how he is characterizing sin. So if you work without having any attachment, all right, you're free from all sins. If you work for selfish reasons, only to experience the fruits of the actions, then such a person is called as a sinner. So it's all about me, and then you, I don't care, right? So you have to be, we have to fall under the first category, is we have to be righteous by willing to share whatever comes at the end of the yajna, and therefore, and which means while I'm doing the activity, there are no agitations, and when there are no agitations, then that action becomes meaningful to me and meaningful to others. Okay, so next two shlokas are about a great person. What should a great man do? Very beautiful shlokas. We'll take a look at this. Yadyada charati shrestah tattadevetaro janah sayat pramanam kurute lokostad anuvartate. So Yadyada charati shreshtaha. Shreshtaha here means celebrity. Okay. So whatever a celebrity does, that will be itara, means the other man will imitate. So whatever a great man does, other people will imitate. And whatever he sets as a standard, as a pramanam, the whole world will follow. Therefore, it's very important that a great man set the right example, do the right things, so that he can create, his actions can be meaningful to the society. So you see here a great man walking, and you have the whole army walking behind him. So who is a great man? You might say, I'm not a great man, so this shloka doesn't apply to me. No, everybody is a great man. There is someone or the other always following you. If you take teachers, students are following the teachers. If you take a coach, a football coach, tennis coach, or a basketball coach, the players look up to the coach. A politician, the people in his constituency look up to him. A guru, all the sishyas look up to the guru. And even you say, I don't fall under all these categories, you will have somebody like you as a father or you as a mother, your children are looking up to you. Therefore, you have a responsibility towards them. So following someone is an expression of the highest admiration. And this is bound to happen. And therefore, we have to make sure that we set the right example. The higher is your celebrity status, more people are going to follow you. When Kennedy started to jog, John F. Kennedy, when he started to jog in the morning, the entire nation started jogging. In fact, Kennedy made jogging very popular. Then when Gandhi exemplified ahimsa as a powerful tool to redeem a nation, everybody followed him. Everybody imitated the way he dressed, imitated the way he did things. And not only in India, even in the US, Martin Luther King took a cue from Gandhi's life and used the same strategy during the civil rights movement. And Nehru, he is famous for his close coat. And a lot of politicians, if you take to even today in India, most of the politicians wear a close coat, irrespective of what the temperature is outside. But this story, which I'm about to say, is the most powerful among all. This is a story of a bus driver in Tennessee, a school bus driver. He had such a spirit, he had such a loving spirit that all the kids would love to come in his bus. As soon as they get up into the bus, he would welcome them with a big smile. He would talk with them. He would say, how is your morning? He says, you should go and do great work in the school. Sing inspirational songs for them. And he was so inspired with his work that it is said that he never took one vacation day, or not one vacation day. He never even took one sick day. So kids would just love to come into this bus. And the CEO of Johnson & Johnson, in his State of the Union address, said that the reason I am here today as the CEO is because of this bus driver, right? So even this bus driver, as a driver, he was able to inspire the CEO of Johnson and Johnson. Okay, so whatever he did, he followed. Whatever he said that one should be doing, he said, children, you should go to school, you have to study hard, you have to be somebody, right? And they followed it. Now we are in the age of public media. A lot of us have good positions. So we have to be very careful on what we post in public media. You don't want to be in a mode where somebody is doing a fact checking on you. You don't want to be in a mode where you are misleading others because of your position and power. Just by a simple Twitter statement, you can mislead a whole group of people. People like Amir Khans and Dhonis, they have a responsibility and they have to be very careful in what they do. If they sneeze, the whole country catches a cold. There was this famous French football player, Zinedine Zidane, and in one of the matches in the finals of the 2006 Soccer World Cup, he butted the head of an opponent. It was a very strong butt. And the opponent actually fell down. And Zinedine, being a great player, somehow inspired a lot of youngsters to do this butting the head. So after this event, after this match, a lot of youngsters took to this kind of play, to this kind of a violent play, like butting the head of an opponent. And it became such an issue that Zinedine had to actually issue a public apology. A great player, right? And the example he sets, whether it's good or bad, is going to be followed. And in fact, if you're great and if you are a bad player, there's a high probability that that will get followed more. And therefore, we have to make sure that we set a meaningful example. We set a pramanam, we set a standard that is meaningful to me and meaningful to everybody else. So that's where this shloka becomes very powerful. So next shloka talks about how a change should be. The shloka is more geared towards a jnani on how he should bring in change about the society. But the shloka is very applicable to anybody who is bringing about a change, either in the society or in the company. Na buddhi bedam janayet ajnanam karma sanginam choshayet sarva karmani vidwan yukta samacharan. Na buddhi bhedam janayet. So na janayet means without causing. Buddhi bhedam means unsettlement in the minds. So without causing any unsettlement in the minds of whom? Ajnanam karma sanginam, of the ignorant who are attached to actions. You and me, who work for ourselves. So without causing any unsettlement in the minds of people who are working for a paycheck. Joshayet sarva karmani. They should set an example by themselves engaging in action. So we'll see how to do that. And while doing so, the wise should act while remaining balanced. So he's saying that without causing any unsettlement, the jnani here, by himself engaging in actions, should act in a balanced way and bring about the change slowly. So unsettling the mind, okay, is when you have, let us say, meditation is a great concept, all right? And you say everybody should meditate. You don't need to work. You just meditate, okay? If you introduce such a drastic change like that, that only creates a suppression in the mind. You just go the spiritual path. You don't have to take karma sannyas and go to the spiritual path. So what happens is the person, he is full of vasanas, okay, and you being a great jnani, a great person, he listens to you, all right, and takes karma sannyas, for example. So he is not willingly coming into this field, okay. He is suppressing all his vasanas and then coming. So that should not happen. That's what this. You should not create any kind of a suppression, meaning unsettlement in the minds of the society. So you take the Ganges River, and let's say you want to change the direction of the Ganges River, meaning you want the Ganges River to flow, to have a wider coverage. One way to do it is you make a brute force change by changing the direction of the Ganges River, which would be ludicrous. Instead, what you do is you create channels in every 15 miles or every 20 miles, and through these channels, the waters will start flowing, and then flowing and cutting deeper and deeper and deeper to form a tributary. And through these tributaries, you can have a wider reach out, right? So therefore, we have to do things slowly. So even a jnani has a responsibility towards the society by doing things in the proper way. So if you take, for example, the life of Swami Chinmayananda, he went to the Himalayas to learn this great spiritual knowledge from Swami Tapon Maharaj. And then he told Swami Tapon Maharaj, I want to go to the cities of India and spread this great knowledge. Very reluctantly, he got permission. And the way Swami Chinmayananda did was, of course, he did a lot of preaching. He conducted a lot of yajnas, but he also showed in action how a person could bring about meaningful transformation in the society. He established over 300 Chinmaya Mission centers, over 70 schools, projects for the poor, projects for different initiatives, and each one of them very successful. So whatever he preached, he was able to demonstrate that through the projects, and people then were able to understand, wow, he is setting an example of what he's preaching, and started to follow his way of working in their own way, right? So that's what the shloka is saying, is you preach, but don't unsettle the minds of people. So so for a jnani, you can, one way of doing, of working with the society would be like how Swami Chinmayananda did. You establish huge projects which are beneficial and meaningful to the society. But then if you are in a position, okay, where you can actually work with the people. You are a jnani, you are working in a factory, you went to the Himalayas, you got this knowledge, you come back and you start working in the same factory. Then side by side, you can work with the others. And because of your knowledge, you are able to put all your energies into the current activity and work very efficiently. So by doing work efficiently, you are now attracting a lot of attention from others working around you. How is it that he is doing this? And then you start to learn some of the truths of how some of, for example, right action, the Bhagavad Gita way. You start imbibing some of this, of what we have talked, into your activity and become more efficient. And so now this, we talked with respect to a jnani, and how does this translate to us who are leaders and who want to introduce change in the society? First of all, don't adopt anything. You always will have to adapt. Okay, so change has to be, first of all, modified, and so that it brings about a relevance to the current environment. So for example, the Internet of Things, the way Apple implemented Internet of Things into their product, you cannot do it the same thing into your product. So you can take the concept Internet of Things and then adapt it to your environment. So how do you do that? You obviously you talk about the change, you get everybody inspired with this change, and not everybody will have the capability or will even have the urge to work in such projects immediately. So what you do is you create a few pilot projects so that people who are interested can work in these pilot projects and then show how these pilot projects can be beneficial to the bottom line of the company. So now you have gotten, you have focused on you have taken this Internet of Things, you have shown what it is, how it can work for the company, right? Then you focus people's minds and people's activities on this, and then you go with full speed in developing a strategy and implementing. So it doesn't happen overnight. That's what I'm trying to say. And don't try to make things happen overnight. For example, evolution of the autonomous cars. So we had cruise control, which came about maybe 30, 35 years ago, right? And then we had driver assist features, which came maybe 10 years ago. So lane assist, and if you're going too close to a car, you will be signaled. So that's driver assist features came. Then came adaptive cruise control. That is, you set your cruise control to 30 miles or 40 miles per hour, and it will adapt. If it's going too close to the car in front of you, it will decelerate. If it's farther away if the car in front of you is farther away from you, then it will actually accelerate. So this is called as adaptive cruise control. For some, it might be preaching to the choir, but I'm just using this as a good example. And then you have your driver alert warnings. The sensors can actually detect your mannerisms of how you're driving the car. It can detect the closing and the opening up of your eyes, and then it'll say, oh, it's now time ready for a coffee. And slowly we are evolving with one feature after another, and one day we are going to be in this utopian situation where you're actually driving a driverless car. You can be listening to a lecture, you can be on Facebook, you can be whatever, and then the car takes you to the destination. Okay. So with this set of shlokas, we have come to a point. We have addressed all the shlokas which pertain to every action has to be meaningful. So here I'm just showing you the flagship shloka, Shloka 248, staying focused on the goal, perform your action without attachment, and maintain equanimity while facing success or failure. So every action has to be meaningful. First, we saw about integrate the mind and intellect, shloka 3.6. Okay, so that you can do what the intellect is wanting to do, and what the intellect is wanting to do is only the right thing. Then senses under control, engage in karma yoga. Karanatva bhava was introduced in shloka 3.7, and in shloka 3.9, Ignya spirit was introduced, and thereafter a set of 4 shlokas where the Yajna spirit from a cosmic standpoint was dealt. So in shloka 3.10, Yajna spirit as the milk cow of desire was introduced. And then in shloka 3.11, the commitment parasparam bhavayantaha, that was explained in shloka 3.11. And then in shloka 3.12, talked about who is a thief. We saw that today. And then sin redefined in shloka 3.13. And then who is a role model of a society? We saw everybody is indeed a role model for our society. And shloka 3.26 is how to introduce change in the society. So these were the shlokas from Bhagavad Gita, primarily from chapter 3, which talked about action has to be, how action can be made meaningful. So we finished now dharmic, we finished meaningful, every action has to be meaningful. And now we go to the third category, every action has to be efficient. Meaning, we should be able to focus all our energies into the job at hand without dissipating the energies in different directions. Very beautiful concept. And you'll see in the shloka Mayi Sarvani Karmani, where Sri Krishna has addressed this aspect of efficiency head on. No mincing of words. And in fact, all books on efficiency, I think, have gotten a cue from that shloka. So we will just introduce that concept now. So what is being efficient? I call it this, the 3C technology. Okay. So you create, first you have to create energy. The second step is to conserve energy. And then the third step is to channelize the energy in the right direction. So how do you create energy? We already saw by having a high goal and by having an attitude that is selfless, we can actually inspire ourselves to action. So when you do that, that creates energy. The energy that has been created has to be now conserved. You cannot dissipate it by going to a movie, going to doing other projects that have no relationship with the project at hand. You have to conserve your energy. So this is done by following a value system in life. And we'll talk very briefly about the 3 cardinal values in the Hindu philosophy, which is Satyam, Brahmacharya, and Ahimsa. So we already saw Satyam. What is Satyam? It's integration of the intellect and the mind. So mind does what the intellect says. Intellect knows what is right. Okay, and instead of mind going in different directions, trying to do its own thing, and in the process unconserving the energy, dissipating in the energy, it just has to listen to the intellect. So that is the value of Satyam. When you have the value of Satyam in everything that you do, you conserve a lot of energy. Your mind is not running in different directions. It is under the total control of the intellect. Then brahmacharya. So brahmacharya, as we know, is the classic definition, but the definition is much more than that, is abstinence from sex when you are at a young age. But that's not the full definition of brahmacharya. Brahmacharya is to focus all your activities in what is important for you at that stage of your life. Okay, so instead of dissipating it in different directions, you conserve your energy by staying focused. And then you have ahimsa. Ahimsa is non-violence at thought, word, and deed. Not only at the action level, it's also at the mind level. So when you, at the mind level, when you have ahimsa, your mind is calm. There is no anger. There is no frustration. And energy gets leaked out in these channels, in anger and frustration. By having ahimsa, the quality of ahimsa, your mind is more samatvam, so calm. So these three values, so a calm mind will conserve the energy. So we saw three values: satyam, brahmacharya, and ahimsa. We should have these three values. And if we have these three values, the energy can be conserved. So now you have a great project, a great goal, inspire a lot of energy, a lot of inspiration. You also have these three values, ahimsa, satyam, brahmacharya, and ahimsa. You have these three values. You have conserved this energy. The last thing is to channelize that energy in the right direction. Very, very important. We have to, the energy that we have acquired through inspiration has to be now put into the project. So that is called as channelize. So how do we channelize our energy? Is the first thing is we should not have any regrets of the past. Actually, dead past. Let's say you have been a failure in certain areas. Okay, that should not keep haunting you in every activity of yours. What you should do is you should learn from whatever mistakes you've made, make improvements for yourself, and move on. The past is dead and gone. That's why the word dead is very, very important. Do not have regrets of the dead past. This is one of the channels through which energy can leak out. Okay. Next, excitement in the present. Don't have feverish excitement in the present. I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. Everything gets like 20% done, 30% done. Nothing gets, because you're so excited that maybe you will not be able to accomplish this task. And so your mind is going in different directions and energy is getting dissipated. And this is one biggest source of leakage of energy, is anxiety of an imagined future. Imagined. We are only imagining all the failures that will happen to us in the future. It's only an imagination of your mind. And in that imagination, we leak all our energies out. Right? So we have to make sure that we don't do that. So these three channels, regrets of the dead past, feverish excitement in the present, and anxieties of an imagined future, we have to make sure we do not dissipate our energy there and focus all the energies that we have acquired through inspiration into the job at hand. And Krishna calls this as yoga karmasu kaushalam. Dexterity in action is yoga. So we have introduced this concept of efficiency. Now we will see some of the shlokas that pertain to efficiency in the next talk. So this ends session 5. So the next session is session 6 is on June 27th, same time, 11 a.m. And the last session is on the July 4th weekend, session 7, which is on July 4th itself, Saturday at 11 a.m. Hari Om. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So Satish ji, if you can take over, I'll stop share.
Thank you, Ashok ji. Again, a wonderful talk and a lecture. I've taken a couple of pages of my notes here, and I'm running out of paper with your lovely talks. Again, see you next week. Thank you all. Hari Om.